Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Gray Area. I am Mr. Bennett. Good to be with you guys this evening, joined as always by my partner, Grooming and Reviews, aka the Ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka Paniotis. Good to see you
What's
tonight,
going
my
on, my
brother.
man?
Yasu.
Demucanis.
Awesome, awesome. Good to have you guys with us tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully, you guys will enjoy the show that we have tonight. This is actually, should be a pretty fun show. But also, if you like the contents what we're doing here, if you see on the bottom of the screen, you can see our cash apps. We'd appreciate any support that you give us in our cash apps or whatnot. So you see our hashtags scrolling at the bottom. But even more importantly than that, we also ask that you support our platform, support the BMU network, where you can drop a cash app, and certainly support what he's doing. And in BMU, he's Black Man Unfiltered Network. They're doing so much to provide us basically content on a daily basis. And so I don't know how he does it, but he's certainly building quite the network here, and we want to support his efforts and make sure that he grows. And so we hope to be participants in that. But grooming, I mean, it was the almost the impossible happened yesterday, as
Yeah,
was seen in the video. Shout out to BMU for the edits that he did, and yes, yesterday, myself and Peter, we actually hooked up for the first time, and there was a gym opening in the don't get it twisted. I saw your eyes roll. Don't get it don't get
you
it
walked into
twisted,
that
sir.
one.
Don't get it twisted, sir. But yes, we met. There was a gym opening yesterday. Shout out to Muscle Gym Inc. that opened up in I believe it's Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
That's
And
correct.
so again, a lot of IFBB pro bodybuilders are out there. I'm a huge bodybuilding fan. Been one ever since Pumping Iron came out. I've been a fan of the sport, and so I follow a lot of the guys. I typically I watch the Mr. Olympia, the Arnold Classic, pretty much every year, and so certainly start meeting some of the legends of the sport. Jay Cutler, who was a major contributor there, and some of the the recent pros. So it was an honor to be in there. A couple guys I knew from years ago, who were still there. So it was just good to be back in that scene. It was a madhouse. I mean, there's bodies. Definitely, if you're germophobic, it's not the place to be. And I can tell you that
Yeah,
because
definitely.
everybody, 5 or 6 people wipe it off, and not everybody's wiping off the machines. But again, that muscle, that physical culture community is very unique, and it definitely has its own character, and it's sort of a culture within itself. It's a small body of people because I think everybody pretty much knows everybody, at least the big guys who were there. But the owner, shout out to Guy Cisternino, who actually he's a Jersey kid. He actually lives down in Bridgewater, not too far from me. But he's one of the owners of that gym. Again, retired IFBB pro. But again, certainly always present out there, and he's really, certainly the gym is certainly meant for the hardcore. This isn't your Planet Fitness gym. This isn't your 24-hour fitness gym. This is for the bodybuilding crowd. For those who take their workout seriously. And again, you see the women in there. All the women are beefed up and jacked up, and they're definitely serious. Take the physical training seriously. So when you're in that environment, it's a very different vibe, and so it was a pleasure to be there. But actually, I think I can show a little something here if I can present. Let me see if I can get this to actually come up. Let me see if I can get this to work here.
Well, one thing I will say to everybody, when I first met Paul, first thing I said to him, "Holy shit, you're fucking tall."
I told you I'm 6'3", man. So
What? I never really. I knew you were taller than me, but I didn't see in my head a difference. I'm like, oh shit, this is not gonna go for me. But yeah, it was a great time overall. And like you guys, anybody who's in PA area, go check out Muscling. Go support those guys. They're doing some great things right now.
like I
You're
said,
muted, bro.
it was definitely like I said, you got that again, that hardcore feel. So I mean, if you are, again, if you take your training seriously, it's definitely that type of spot that's gonna give you that environment that really helps you to get the most out of your workout. So I really appreciate it. Um, the environment and the platform that they gave in that context. So it was really good. And but again, that hour and a half drive, I don't know if I could be out there on a regular basis, but it's like, I can
Oh
certainly
no.
see, I can
Yeah.
certainly see once a quarter, going out there and seeing those guys. But again, it's been a while since I've gone to shows, because I used to see a lot of those guys
Mhm.
at the local, bodybuilding shows in New Jersey and whatnot, and New York area. So so again, you get to see some of those guys on a regular basis. So it's been probably 5+ years easily that I didn't get a chance to see a lot of those guys. So it was definitely good to again be in that environment and to see what those guys were doing. But before we go on, I just want to again give a shout out to the panel. Joshua Jones, again, it was a pleasure meeting you on the Tuesday show. Certainly it was good to see you drop by and see us, so I could see what you look like. And again, the invitation is open to the bold and the beautiful, the beneficent, benevolent Ball Brotherhood of the BMU Network. I invite you, sir, if you ever decide to become a member of that. But I just want to give some love to you. Appreciate you stopping by and seeing us again. Embrace the grace. Thank you for stopping by and seeing us, and just appreciate you on Tuesdays, the perspectives that you're doing. I know it's not easy trying to raise a young Black man, but you're doing a great job and sharing your insights. So we just appreciate you for what you bring to the space and your perspective. And again, the show would never be complete without our sister, Lady Novoa, who rides hard for all of the BMU network
I'm sorry to cut
shows
you
and
off.
whatnot. I think I'm gonna call her the queen. She's the queen.
I was about to say the same thing. She is the queen. Oh
Yeah.
hell, the queen. Oh hell, the queen. I don't say.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for yes, I'm trying to convince you just try it once, because you could always grow it back. Well, at least
I hated it.
once
I did it once.
once I started losing the battle, I just nuked the whole thing. I said, look, this isn't going to be like Cutler's Last Stand. I'm just trying to hold out the last outpost of hair. So we decided just to get rid of the whole thing. But yes, we're changing this environment one head at a time. And it was so good to see my man the Man Williams, who is now rocking the Ball lifestyle. So again, he came, stopped in through late Friday night on the barbershop, and he was rocking the bald head and whatnot. So again, look, the most handsome you've ever looked, sir. I must say, I've never seen you look more handsome than you did that night, sir. So I so really appreciate it. Joshua was saying sunburn is a real problem for white folks. Well, look, my cat game is killer. I know you were watching the New York Mets cap that other night, but I got about 30, 40 caps. I'm sort of a cap collector, so to speak. So again, I can rock the cap when I need to. So hey, that's not no reason why you can't enhance your game in that in that regard. So definitely appreciate it. And of course, I got a chance to meet Stacy B79. Got a chance to meet you, and that was certainly a pleasure meeting you and whatnot, and working out with you and helping you guys train and all that stuff. Again, we had fun at the at the gym, but you were a delight. It was a pleasure getting to know you, and certainly looking forward to seeing you again. And but again, thank you so much for for joining us and supporting, the camera work. I still got footage. I got some of the workouts I was doing. I'm going to put it together in some segments. So, thank you for, doing some recording for us. Thank you for holding my bag. Cause again, it was such a nut house out there. You could have very easily misplaced your bag or your bag could have went walking. So again, thank you for just, keeping everything together, keeping me in grooming on the same page. So we really
in check, in other words.
yes. So we really appreciate you. We really appreciate you doing that. Now we don't. It's early in the season. Embrace the grace. We don't need the Yankees and Mets going at it so far. Let it marinate a little bit before the Subway Series comes up. But they're already starting beef in the chat as far as the Yankees versus the Mets and everything. But tonight's show, like I said, I'm really looking forward to talking about, and what we're going to be delving into is the subject of martial arts. Okay, and just in the some of the research that I did leading up to the show, I was certainly educated on some things that I didn't know, or I kind of knew, but I didn't quite flesh it out the way I needed to when it came to martial arts. And so we're going to talk about that throughout the show. And I know grooming. I know you certainly are a devout martial artist. Now, I must say this: I've always been a fan of and a proponent of martial arts. I never had the time. Just the time just never was never right for me to really devote to it as a discipline. But I certainly appreciate martial arts. I've studied the history of many martial arts. I'm a big fan of Bruce Lee, who was a influence on me not only just in the martial arts world, but just in life in general. Just his philosophies when it came to his Jeet Kune Do. So obviously I'm a big martial arts movie fan for sure. So from the Shaw Brothers, Kung Fu Cinema back in the day, they used to come on Saturday afternoons at 3 o'clock on Fox 5 in the area here. So again, if you guys were old school heads, if y'all remember Kung Fu Theater used to come on Saturday afternoons, that was like you prepared for that. And so the whole martial arts Kung Fu martial arts cinema genre, I know that certainly that fan base is pretty strong, and I'm certainly a product of that. And as you can see, I am rocking the yellow sweater. If you can see with the black stripe down the sides, ode to Bruce Lee from the Game of Death. So yes, I am rocking my I actually posted a video with this one time, and someone said, "Oh, I like the Kill Bill uniform." I'm like, sorry, you don't know where this came from. This came from the original from Bruce Lee from 1972, actually, with the Game of Death. He actually shot half of it before he got the role for Enter the Dragon. But yes, from 1972. So this uniform here, the yellow non-gi uniform, that is definitely something that goes right back to
Bill
that
Kill
time.
didn't start that. It was Bruce Lee who started that.
Exactly. So again, it had to be a millennial or
He
Gen
did a
Z or
couple
something
movies
like
with that
that. He
same uniform.
had to be, because so it's like you need to go back and educate yourself and watch Game of Death. Especially watch, if you get a chance, watch the deleted scenes, because there were whole segments of that movie that were didn't make the final cut. And the final product, the movie actually was pretty bad. I must say, like, the movie didn't come out until 1978. The scenes were shot in 1972. And the movie that they came up with, they had to try this sort of crime syndicate thing. Pretty bad overall. The guy who was stunting for a lot of the Bruce Lee scenes was pretty bad. But the fight scenes themselves, there was a lot of footage that was left on the cutting room board. So if you do a YouTube search on the Game of Death, the missing or deleted scenes, you'll see a whole bunch of footage that never made the film. I mean, you see some flashes of him fighting Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but you never saw all the fights really fleshed out that led up to that. So definitely you owe it to yourself to see some of that. See some of that Game of Death footage from back in
I'll
the day.
check it out. I didn't know they had the deleted scenes.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. It's almost 20 minutes of actual fight footage. Even the fights that you saw in the film, they were edits of the fight scenes. They weren't fully fleshed out. There was a lot more meaning. There was a lot more philosophy to what Bruce was saying, what he was doing in there. So it was definitely one of those platforms he used to talk about Jeet Kune Do as well. So you definitely owe it to yourself. In fact, if you don't have it, I'll send you the link later, where you could definitely check out that footage. And so so definitely looking forward to that. But grooming, you want to kind of give maybe a little bit about your background. First of all, why aren't you wearing your martial art? I thought you'd be in. See, I never said so. I don't have my gi. I don't have my gear. I thought you'd be dressed up with a headband, like like Daniel-san from Karate Kid. I thought you would ham this up, like just like your Sparta helmet. I thought you would be in your martial arts gear. So I'm a little disappointed that you're not showing off your martial arts ensemble right now.
So my gi only comes out when I teach. I don't put it on for a show, anything like that. It's a rule, unwritten rule for every martial artist. It's 2 rules. You don't wear your gi just for the hell of it, and you never drop your belt on the ground. And that is like walking on the Bible. That's how sacred it is.
Gotcha. I feel
so. Before I get into my background on martial arts, I want to say one thing. Bruce Lee and 2 other martial artists were the founding fathers of MMA, mixed martial arts. It was Bruce Lee, Master V, who also known as Master Vincingong. I can't pronounce his goddamn name. Life depended on me. He was based out of the Philippines. He started a style called V Honest Jiu. The honors for some stick fighting. That's where honors they're known for that, stick fighting down there. So he came when he came to the States, like he started doing what Bruce Lee did, stealing a little bit of everybody else's.
Hmm.
Then my instructor came in, Master Ray Kazaka. Master Ray Kazaka, he was half Japanese and half Chinese.
Hmm.
Don't ask me how that worked. It did not work. His temper was the worst son of a bitch I ever seen.
Mm.
I see things thrown across the room, from frying pans to cutting boards to swords to you name it. His son is one of my best friends.
Nice.
So those are the 3 founding fathers. I just want to give all of them respect. All 3 of them have passed away, unfortunately.
Mm.
V passed it in 1999. Master Ray passed in 2004 by a drunk driver, head on.
Mm.
So unfortunately, we had stuff. So my background. My father put in martial arts very young. I was always fascinated about it.
Mhm.
My fascination started with most kids like the Ninja Turtles, the Power Rangers, the Batman cartoons. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? The ninjas, so everything. The ninjas back in the early 90s was like the most coolest thing ever. They were like, remember the movie American Ninja? There were like, what, 20 of those movies?
Yeah, yeah. Enter the Ninja, Back to the Ninja, American Ninja. Yeah, yeah. That was definitely an early craze in the 80s. Shout out to Sho Kazuki. He was also one of those early guys as well. So I remember a lot of his content.
Yeah. So my dad put me in. I remember walking back and forth to school every day. And my mom used to walk me to school, walk me back. At the time, it was close to school. It wasn't far, so we didn't have a bus. And I remember going up to his fence, putting my face there, fascinated. So one day, he walked out. He goes to my mom, "Come on, let him come try a class out." Or my husband, I'm like, "I don't care who your husband is. Your husband's not here. I'm not asking you out. I'm asking your son out."
Mm-hmm.
He was trying to break the ice. My mom, my mom he can tell the language barrier. His wife came out. Then his son came out. His son was like my age, pretty much. Was 1 or 2 years older, I think. And I can't. And I says my mom finally gave in. Like, all right, one class won't hurt. He's like, what's the charge? Nothing. Just let him try out class. And I was like, she didn't see this big, bright bubble popped out of my head, and I loved it. So he handed a flyer and his business card. Listen, tell your husband come see me, and we can have a conversation. My prices are very fair and very flexible. Actually, I go off the income of the household. So I was enrolled, did it up to I went to Greece. I continued practicing what I learned. When I came back to the States, the very first thing I did when I was back to the States, I went to Master Ray. I walked through his doors. He walked by, looked, gave me that kind of look, like, I know you. I go,
right.
I know you. I know that voice. He goes, I can't put my finger together. And he had that little weird Italian, because where he grew up in New York. It was an Italian area he grew up mostly.
Right.
And before he moved out of there, he goes, I know you. I go, yeah, I know you too. He was going back and forth with it. My mom comes in. He goes, I remember you, short lady. Don't tell him this is who I think it is. And he goes, oh, you had another son I didn't know about. She goes, my mom looked at him like, what do you mean I'm short? Like, you're short. So he goes, what do you remember? Everything. I went to him. He goes, prove it. Shoes off, get on the mat. My mom going, but I didn't even talk about payments or anything. I'm like, I don't care. I'm here to teach. Go talk to my wife. She's the bill collector. I break the bones. She collect the payments. I'm like, uh-oh. What did I start? So did a quick little briefer, see where I remember. The first words that came out of his mouth, like, you little bastard, you remember everything I taught you. You did not forget one thing.
Wow.
Next man I know goes, we got some work to do with you. So I escalated really fast up the ranks at the time because I never stopped practicing.
Right.
And I practiced and I practiced when I was away. So when I was like technically a green belt, when I came back, I actually had to retest again because you have a white belt for kids and a white belt for teenagers. Then you have a white belt for adults. So once you get a certain rank, they kind of like not freeze you, but once you hit the age,
right?
In theory, you're supposed to, when you age up, that's where you get rebooted to learn the new stuff.
Right, right.
That is assisting as a junior black belt, but it's not a legit thing overseas. It's more that's a what we call American or Karate Joe
Right.
or Karate McDonald's, in other words, because
Right.
that's where the franchises they're like Storm and Tigers did at one time.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So we moved up, and I started doing competitions every couple of weeks. It was a competition after competition after competition. This is where martial art competitions were very popular. This is way before UFC was even a thing.
Mhm.
So I accelerated pretty fast. So it was a point system back then.
Right.
So it was a company called, not a company, more like a division, I would say, the World Martial Art Federation.
Yeah.
They ended up going out of business over the years. So they keep score of each tournament you went to. So eventually, once you hit a certain tournament, you get invited to the big one, the World Martial Art Tournament. And it was always held in Madison Square Garden. So I don't know if you can hear my dog. He's like whining over here.
Oh no, it's okay. It's okay.
So he, when I went to Vermont, I was in a junior division because I was a teenager.
Right.
I competed. I got my ass kicked the first year.
Mm.
The second year too. The third year. I looked at Master like, what the hell is going on? Like, you guys, you don't get it. He goes, you're competing with the elite of the elite. You got to bring your A game.
Right.
After the third year, like, okay, now you need to teach me more. He goes, I was wondering where you're going to ask me that. The first words he came in his mouth. I wonder where you're going to ask me that. So I started training more. I don't say I don't train more serious, but more hardcore. Conditioning cranked up to 3 times. Now, when you hear say conditioning, what do you mean by that? People ask me. We used to literally sit there in a row, put our hands on our hips or behind our backs. Somebody would come up, start punching on our stomach for 20, 30, maybe 40 minutes straight.
Yeah. Yeah, I see boxers starting to do that now.
Yep. Slapping. Oh, the face was the worst one for me. He goes,
Mhm.
all right, you ready? I'm like, what? Start slapping me back and forth. He goes, how long do you have to do this? I went to him first. I'm like, okay. I mean, what do you mean, okay? You're like, whenever I feel like slapping you.
Mm.
The class boulder was the worst one, too. I remember he had a boulder literally on wheels. He pushed it out and started slapping your hands on it back and forth, hard as you can. Sometimes my hands were blistered up.
Yeah, I can imagine.
He had a little, the carpet had little springs in it, the floor, because you want to walk on your ball your foot, not the heel.
Mm-hmm.
So when I walk, I actually look like I'm putting my heel down, but I quickly put my ball down. Because every time the ding went off, he come out with a bamboo stick whoosh, behind the foot. I'm like, oh, damn, that hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And it was over and over. So after the 100,000 times getting slapped behind your feet, you're learning, okay, let's walk on the ball because that's how you fight on the ball.
Right.
He was one of the greatest teachers. He was rough, very rough.
Yeah.
I remember when we act out at home. You used to say, this is a double-edged sword. You're bad at home, you're bad at here. You're bad at school, you're bad here. So if I, let's say, walk back to my mom for argument's sakes, he would probably kick me in the jaw.
Oh, wow.
He kicked me a couple times.
Yeah.
And he goes, none of my students would talk back to their parents. End of story.
Right.
And because that's how he was raised by his parents too.
Yeah.
Over Chinese and Japanese. His father was Japanese, so he got that side. His mother was Chinese. That woman used to scare the living shit out of me when she walked into the dojo and she would visit. I see that little Asian woman coming in. I'm like, God needs to come down and help me. I need a second coming of Jesus to come right now. This is how scary that woman was. Her kung fu was so good. I was amazed. And I asked her when she started very young. It was passed from generation to generation. I looked at her like, whoa. You doing Wing Chun? Damn, she was fucking fast for her age.
Right.
She died at 79. And I remember her in her 50s and 60s. And she's going. She's hitting that bird. And she's dodging it. I'm like, this has to be a hologram. This can't be real. He goes, touch her. I'm not touching her. He goes, poke her. He goes, Master Ray, go ahead, poke her. I'm like, yeah. She's real, right? Yeah. So she can kick your ass, dude. As much as he was he was also a second father to me.
Yeah.
The way he had his dojo build, the dojo was here, his house was on top. So after class is over, guess who used to hang out with Matt, with Shin, his son, this
Mhm.
guy. And I didn't say I got special treatments, but if I need a little extra help, I got that extra help. I remember the one time my dad felt a little tight on money, a couple times. Because he was self-employed, he's a taxi driver in New York City,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you
yeah.
get the idea how bad that is.
That's right.
He goes to me, my father, like, I never asked for money for you guys. At some point, he stopped paying my father. So I'm asking money from my father. He used to return the checks to him. He goes, your son and you guys are family now. You do not pay family.
Mm.
Family helps family. The only thing I want out of him is to do well in my dojo. He will do well in school. Whatever he decides to do in life. And my dad was like, huh? My mom was shocked. Like, whoa, where is this coming from? She was not used to that kind of handouts.
Yeah.
I remember when I needed new uniforms, he did not let my mom pay a dime. My weapons, nothing. My swords, nothing. And like he said, this is gift from dojo to student. That's how we do it overseas. That's how we do it now.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I was one of his best students, but I was up there. I remember when we had conversations, like I was frustrated, something like that. He took me under his wing. I'm not gonna lie. He took me under his wing. Great food. I'm not gonna lie. He used to cook. I actually had real Chinese food the way
Right.
he used to make it. I had
Right.
real Japanese food. I'm like, even thinking about it, like I'm drooling right now. Like, I wish I can bring the guy back from dead and actually cook for me. I
Yeah.
don't care about anything else. I want to cook for me.
Yeah.
That was the best part of it.
Right.
But
Right.
as good he was, he had the worst temper ever.
Yeah.
His wife was half Irish and half Italian. That mix alone, it's a bad combination.
That's pretty
Between
bad. That's pretty bad.
Oh, wait. I'm just getting the juicy part of it. Back
Okay.
then, I didn't know anything better.
Mhm.
Shin, after we got older, we talked about it, and we both realized, like, yeah, your family was pretty toxic. He goes, yeah, it was. So they're arguing. And next time I think, he goes, we're eating in the middle of the table. And he goes, duck. What do you mean? I duck. Frying pan flying. He goes, dodges to the right. Another book comes flying. And I'm like, what? They're fighting. And I'm like, your parents throw shit at each other? Like, yeah, they're fine. I'm like, this is not normal. He goes, yeah, it is. They've been doing this for years like this. Since I've been born. I'm like, okay. And next one I know, they're in the bedroom. Oh, now they're okay.
So so if they're not fighting, they are the other way forward. Okay.
They're doing the nasty. Let's put it this way. I'm like, I'm scratching my head. I'm like, how is this? We're like, hey, dude, they're happy, married.
Now,
I don't care.
Now, if I understand, isn't the Greek culture kind of like that also? Like
A little bit,
the
yeah.
Greeks,
But
they'll
we don't
fight like
throw shit
cats
at
and
each other.
dogs, and then you hear the walls banging.
Yeah. Excuse me. 100% correct. But we're not gonna throw shit. I'm not throwing freaking my laptop at your head, or my dog is gonna be. I'm like, I'm gonna scream at you top of my lungs, like, oh,
Right.
And then like next thing I know, your legs are wrapped around me in the bedroom. That's it. But it's not gonna be me throwing shit. But they were literally trying to take each other's head off. I remember the one time they got in a real big fight. I'm in his office, and his son goes, and they're going out. I can't even remember what the fight was about. And the only thing I remember, like, she goes, you know what? You don't have the balls to take me on the mat. And it finishes like a man. He turned around like, excuse me? So you heard me. And she learned from him. I go, you do understand your teacher is your husband. He goes, yeah, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to kick his goddamn balls. I'm like, okay, now this is interesting. They literally wrapped their hands up. They went on the mat. They fought each other. I'm like, is this normal? Because technically it is. He's a teacher now, not his.
Yeah, and if she's gonna learn the art, she's gonna have to go through the paces. I mean, he can't or if he just said, well, okay, look, I'm gonna team you with a partner and whatnot. He's gonna have to go hard, even though that's his wife. Just like with a son. I mean, you can't coddle your son or daughter if they really want to learn the art. So yeah, they're gonna have to take a butt kicking just like anybody else if they really want to master.
I'll give you a great example with me. When I help in my school, obviously I had to call him up. I asked for his permission. He gave me his blessing. That is not a rule. It's not a law. It's kind of like a respect thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
I asked him, Master Alex, I'm going to go, yeah, go ahead. There's only one rule I got for you. He told me the same thing he did. If you're going to teach, everybody's equal. Even if you teach your girlfriend, I go, fine. I went to him.
Mhm.
So my girlfriend at the time she goes, I want to learn. I want to learn. I want to learn. I went to her, babe, you do not want to learn from me. Trust me. You're
Mhm.
going to walk out of here with tears. She goes,
Yeah.
yeah, I can handle it. I learned from my father jiu-jitsu. Like, your father is different. I'm not your father. I'm not going to hold
Yeah.
back. She goes,
Yeah.
I don't want you to hold back. I want you to be rougher me than anybody. I go, no, you don't. Trust me.
Mhm.
I go, so as I'm teaching her and teaching her, sparring day came around. And she goes, I spar with everybody like everybody else. I'm there because I need to go with my rounds to, teach them. So as I'm sparring her, I told her, get your hands up. Don't keep them down here. Keep them up here. That's how you want to block your face. If your nose is busted open, you can't see anything, the fight is over. She didn't
Right.
listen to me.
Right.
So I came out with a roundhouse. That roundhouse got her. I slapped her. I hit her hard as I could,
Mhm.
right across the chest.
Mm.
And she goes, yeah, how did you do that? I'm your girlfriend. Like, no, you're not. Once you walk through those goddamn fucking doors,
Hey.
you're not my girlfriend.
Yeah.
You're my student. I
Right.
have told you several times by now in one day to get your guard up.
Mhm.
You don't like it? The door's right there. That's it.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, I think that's in life in general. Some of your, some of your worst students are going to be those who are closest to you. I mean, it doesn't always pan out. Sometimes, for the sake of the relationship, sometimes you need to go to someone else who's going to, who you can listen to. But it happened. I mean, my fans really good. Like when I train them, like similar to what I was doing with you guys on Saturday. I train them the same way. I don't hold back in terms of if I want, and I take those guys to failure. So it's not even hey, okay, we'll get to the 10th rep and then we're done. I take them to actual failure. And, they're pretty good about it as far as taking it, but they don't train with me very often. Only my wife trains with me weekly. My kids, after they've been out, they'll go to other gyms or do whatever. It's okay, Dad, I need a hard one, or I need a hard training. So, okay, come, so you can train me then. But it's not like they look forward to training with me every week. Only my wife does that. But it's not for for some they need to have like a third party, or at least to know. And that's what happened just over time. I've had clients of mine who have left for other training systems, and then they realize the difference, and then they'll come back to me. And then until it gets hard, and then they leave, and then they come back. So I have an open door policy with everyone who trains with me. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to take it easy on you because I've known you for a number of years, or because you're close. I don't care if you're 7 or 70. I'm basically going to train you the same way. And I but I have that ability. I can separate my feelings from what's important. But actually, it's when you really think about it, is together. Because if I want you to be your very best, I have to train you the way I train you, and I have to push you to those failure points. When you're saying no, I'm done, and I say, oh look, I want 2 more reps, I want 3 more reps, or 5 more reps. You have to give me those reps, and I don't take a shortcut because of that. So again, I'm not for everyone, but people still at the same time they understand the value of the training, and that that allows them to see the progress that they want to make. But I want to dial this discussion back. And first of all, thank you for sharing your story about your journey in martial arts and how you got there and the people that
This
helped
is
along
my
the way.
pleasure. I've been
Yeah.
looking forward to this episode for so long. You have
Yeah,
no
yeah,
idea.
yeah. But more importantly, because one thing that I will touch on that you had talked about is, I mean, certainly um, when it comes to the term martial art, which we're going to get into, or the practices, you're definitely seeing, especially in the States, you're definitely seeing just based on capitalism, you're definitely seeing it where people are signing up for memberships, but they're not necessarily being trained in the martial arts. Anytime you see like a family martial arts center or something like that, the money is made through the memberships. It's made through the purchasing of gis and equipment and boxing, gloves and mats and pads and all this gear that they're making money on. These MMA gyms that have crapped up over the place. It's just making money, but they have the look, they have the cages and whatnot, but you're really not learning anything, or more times than not. Only in the type of settings that you're talking about, where it's one-on-one, where the person cares more about the art than the money, is generally when I see people actually learning. When when you get the people who are really willing to go through the torture of the training and to really sacrifice and dedicate themselves to it, not just what happens in the gym, but again, what are you learning outside the gym? Again, when you left your former teacher for that many years and you came back and still knew what you knew back when you were a kid, again, that is really that's rare, at least certainly in the West, where people look at it, it's just an afternoon activity, it's just something just to let loose some energy or whatever, or parents put their kids into the programs because they want them to have something to do and get rid of some of the energy, but they're not learning martial arts. They're just and I see they used to have these places where they teach, and I would see like they had like the big window display so you can see what's going on in there. And the kids, like, they're doing all these drills, like they're laying down and the kid runs over. You have to like do the step drill, running around over the other kids or whatnot and sit in place. And the next kid gets up and he has to run over people. And so again, it's like a gym class, but it's not martial arts. It's not really, really what we would expect, based on our experience with it, what really helps people in terms of how to defend themselves, self-defense. And so what I really want to get into now is to define, because I think this is a gray area for me, for sure, that I've debated martial artists, those who have certainly devoted their years to actual martial arts. I've asked them, what is martial arts? So how would you define that?
Art is a form of art. So if you see my arm, I have my old dojo logo. It's messed right, except I added this part right here. He didn't have letters. Hi, Alex. The weight of the empty hand. That says right. In English, that means karate. Not karate,
Yes,
it's karate.
Yeah.
That's the pronunciation. The weight of empty hand, because the way is the empty hand. You can fight any certain way.
And te itself means hand. I actually learned this from Karate Kid. So again, te means hand.
Correct.
Karate means empty hand.
Correct. So when you come to me and tell me I'm a martial artist, I will respect you. I will bow to you. And I respect that. Bow is a handshake. Now, here's the argument factor we have with bowing. How low do you bow? So that depends on the style. You can bow very low. Like some people go extreme, like they're almost like kissing their own feet as low they bow. Some bow to the point, but you keep eye contact. I was always trained to keep eye contact.
Keep eye contact, yeah. Never take your eye off your opponent.
Correct. That is the reason why, actually. So you do not bow too low. There's different styles of karate. Let's use karate for overall right now.
Yeah, I got you.
So it's Shinru, like actually in the back shot, that's like they just put it in Shinru, Shindu, Shinku, Shinu, and so on.
Right.
Give me 1 second. I guess he wants to escape. Give me 1 quick second, guys. I'm sorry.
You got it.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah, so I just want to while he's taking care of that, but this has been an open discussion in terms of what classifies. Now again, Groomy, you're talking about the art of it and the practices, but I'm looking for something a bit more fundamental, because for me, martial arts, true martial arts, is about combat.
I'm getting into that in 1 second.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
So the different styles. The styles are from which village you're from. Now, the self-defense and the discipline comes from the way you were training it. I've been into a lot of dojos. So the one thing my instructor was very well about, before you earn your black belt, you're going to learn a different style.
Right.
I looked at him like, why? It makes no sense. He goes, yes, it will. Just do it. I walked into 4 different dojos. One of them, they're running around like a maniacs. And they were passing out belts crazy out of nothing, like candy.
Yeah.
And I went back to him the next day, like, Master Ray, why do they do that? You know what that's called? A McDojo. McDojo. What the hell is that? I went to him.
It's like McDonald's.
Bingo. That's where I was going with this. And there's so many out there, it's not even funny.
Yeah.
When I see him like passing, and I go back and ask him why he does that. Now, okay, me as a dumb teenager, I went back and asked him. I went, excuse me, Sensei, I got a question for you, my man. He goes, yes, Peter. What is it? And I'm like, why do you have belts like that? Like, how did you realize that? I'm like, you forget I already trained before? Oh, that's right. He goes, well, to be honest with you, Peter, the lights get turned on by the kids.
Yeah.
I go, excuse me? I'm
Yeah.
like,
Nah.
we don't teach them until they become over 15.
Mhm.
So if somebody tries to mug them or try to kidnap them, we go, wait till I'm 15 till you kidnap me.
Mhm.
No. I went to a different one and a different one and a different. All of them were doing the same thing.
Yeah.
You have to ask the right questions. Who's your instructor, number one? They'll tell you your name. Look him up. If you find any data on him, then he's legit. So then look into the style. What kind of style it is? What are the rules of the style? Every style has stuff. So when I say style, there are two things you have to look for. Where the style came from. What, let's say karate. Again, it depends. Let's say Okinawa Shonryu. I'll use that for example. It's right, I just seen it. That's the Okinawa is the island it came from. Shonryu is from the village.
Mhm.
So there are rules in that style. Like,
Sorry.
style rule number one: don't throw a first strike till you get strike first. Rule
Right.
number two is make sure you have your 5-foot rule. Rule number three: did you not allow this? Stay away from me, or get away from me, or I'm gonna punch you in the face. You warned them. Those are a couple of rules we have. Now, where does the discipline comes in? Your instructor. So my instructor obviously was Okinawa Shonryu. He got the discipline from there. That's one part. Second part, he was in the military. So for him to actually learn everything the correct way, he had to, be in the military. Wasn't in the United States military, believe it or not. He was drafted in both countries, Chinese and Japanese. He had to serve both of them. But he wanted to learn that. His ultimate dream was to open his own school. He wanted franchises, but done the right way.
Right.
Eventually, he wanted to give me one, he said. And that was the goal of at one point. But things happen, obviously. So with the whole discipline, he depends how your teacher is. At the end of the day, like, I have looked at students. I know I can get through them. They're angry, all this, and they're doing katas. For you guys don't know, kata is form.
Mhm.
And I say this just to get them twisted in the head. You have to watch the words. Again, it doesn't work for every student. Stop wasting my time. I have other students to work with.
Right.
Oh, now they got serious. I'm like, it's little things like that. I was raised a certain way. Like, never back down was a great example. You can control the fight. You don't fight outside the dojo. Everything's controlled.
Mhm.
That's how he was.
Mhm.
It comes down to his student and your instructor. That's what it really comes down to. Who is your instructor? How is your instructor teaching you at the end of the day?
Right.
Let's do this one.
Right.
Like that, what's going on, my man?
Hey.
I'm doing good. It's funny that this is the topic, and I kind of like almost grew up in this because when you mention Okinawa is the oldest karate style that I was studying under Shicho Ryu karate.
Mhm.
Okay, I heard of it.
Well, good. I did it for at least almost 2 to 3 years before I came back to the U.S. And when I came back to the U.S., I was trying to find Shicho Ryu, but Shotokan was too popular out here on the East Coast. Couldn't find Shicho Ryu. If I was looking up on the line at the time, it was only in California. You mostly see Shotokan type of karate. Goju, you may find around out here in the East Coast. Okinawa karate is hard to find because if you study history, Okinawa is the oldest, then branch out, then you have the main four, which is Shotokan, Shicho Ryu, Wado Ryu, and Goju Ryu karate. Every other karate is more of a lesser form than what the main karate style really is, because normally people who study the four original, you have to get permission to go to Japan through their sensei. The sensei has to make a request for you to come out there. Am I right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yes. So
Yeah.
how it works, you guys have to request it, and they have to approve it before you go. The very few
Yes.
cases you might go down there, says you have no idea. Obviously, you're just a tourist. Let's say Paul, for example, he has no idea about this. He's green as green can be.
Mhm.
And there might case, okay, he showed up, he's on vacation. They might show him a thing or two, but you're not training with the masters. You're training with the lower guys, like
Pretty much.
I like the white belts.
They're the
But guys,
ranking system.
before we go too far in this, I want
Mhm.
again, I'm trying to level set here. So let's go all the way I'm talking philosophy right now.
Okay.
And Black
Martial art,
David,
the
you can
definitions.
chime in. What is martial arts?
Throughout history, it's known as the form
Not
of
history.
combat.
What I'm asking you, how do you define martial arts?
To me, martial art is a unique open-hand style of combat that's not very common among people. For my study, because when I got into my study in martial art, we were taught the origin where it's from based on country. In Japan, we have karate, right?
Mm-hmm.
In China, you have two styles of kung fu. One from Shaolin, and I'm sure they're part of the southern style, then one from northern style. Africa had their own that got migrated to Brazil that ended up becoming capoeira.
Mm-hmm.
Thailand, you have Muay Thai, but what about version in kickboxing? It's more like a unique style that have been perfected over time.
Right. Like grooming. All right. So on your end, because I know you were talking about. So again, refine your definition. What is martial arts?
An art of self-defense.
An art of self-defense. I can rock with both you guys on that. I think martial arts is a specific form of fighting.
Mm-hmm.
It's about combat. So again, if you want to do there's dance, there's expressive art with the human body.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when it comes to martial arts, you're talking about combat at the end of the day. And to the points that you were making, Black David, you were on a roll with it, is that it's the form, the arts, these forms of fighting have existed on virtually every continent.
Pretty much.
But a lot of times, the issues that that's always bugged me, and again, I've debated with people in the martial arts community. Anytime you talk about martial arts, your first instinct is to go to Asia, is to go to China, is to go to Japan. Now, without question, there is a long tradition and history of martial arts discipline in those nations, but every continent has had essentially its own form of martial arts or something that has been formed, but we never talk about that. Like your first instinct, martial art is to instantly go to an Asian person. And I'm not sure,
Let me explain why I do
that is.
I'm glad you said that, because I did the same thing you did. I asked that question. And somebody brought it down to me. It's based on a history and tradition that was passed down over multiple generations.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had to look up books. I had to talk to people. I had to look at documentaries. And when you want to compare martial art, right, there's a rivalry between China and Japan based on how old the martial art. You talk about a 5,000-year tradition compared to a 300-year tradition compared to a 1,000-year tradition, and which one have been known that have been almost copied or known to multiple region. If you look at the history whereby invasion took place, which style of art was more effective, it's a lot of argument. I've been into my 20, and I promise you, Mr. Bennett, the amount of debate and conflict based on history and story, unless you're a historian of that art of martial art complete, you realize there's so much going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of like, I now understand why when people do martial, you have to do your homework first, because today we have a bunch of watered down baloney martial art out there. They're not legit martial art.
Yeah.
They're like people picking and choosing under. I would have said they're making a smoothie out of martial art. Like
absolutely.
They can make it out of nowhere, which had no fundamental, they have no standards, and there's no foundation. And so when you ask that question, it's hard.
Right.
I remember they did a documentary.
That's what I was saying earlier. It's
they did a documentary on TBS about, if I remember correctly, 17 years ago. Wesley Snipes had a demonstration about all the martial around the globe, and they were based on which content was based original. and they had all the masters from all the different style of martial art come in, explain the history behind it, because they said that had been a age-old debate. What is martial art? What it's all about? Because you ask every practitioner, they'll tell you something completely different. And that's how it get to the point whereby you got to look at the history, you got to look at the where they came from, how they migrated.
Like, I'm sorry to cut you off. Like, one of the biggest myths to say is the original traditional art came out of China, and the Karate Kid story tells it perfectly. A sailor fell asleep, sailed over, learned it, sailed back with a wife, and taught Japan. If you tell that to a real martial artist, you're going to get a black face. I learned my lesson the hard way. That little Asian woman slapped me so hard, I saw black and blues for 20 goddamn years. I'm not gonna, dude. Trust me. If you open that can of worms in any dojo, you're gonna. It's a debate that you do not want to go into. Unfortunately, as much as I'm trying to educate you and everybody else, my brain hurts right now. Like,
I laugh because I know that very well. Because when I tried to, I did respectfully. I need to get understanding. What is martial art and which is the oldest art out there?
I'll give you a better example. So I was, a couple years later, I was teaching. I was contracting at the point, meaning going to different dojos and teaching, and I was doing my chefing full time. And one of the guys comes up to me, goes, "Oh, you know so and so?" Like, and I, yeah, I know a little bit this, a little that. This mixed martial. Goes, "Oh, so you guys copied your stuff? You guys copied?" I went, "Excuse me? Yeah, you copied after Kung Fu." And go, "I'm gonna break your fucking face now." I went to him. Yeah, his face turned so different colors when I said that. Like, you do not ever tell any martial artist you copied my style. That is the most disrespectful thing you can say to any martial artist. Definitely somebody who bled, sweat for his belt. Let me give you a little history lesson, and David probably knows this too. Do you know why we were black belts, Paul?
No.
So when you got your first belt was white. Over the years, as you change colors, eventually will turn to black. This is why you don't A, drop it on the floor, and B, you never wash your belt. If you wash your belt, it's like you will be discommunicated, pretty much. The best way I can explain it. You'll be kicked out of the dojo so fast. I'm like, you might look at me, man, that belt's gonna be nasty. Yeah, it probably is nasty, but you earned that belt. Right. By the time you get your fifth, you're gonna get your new belt. When you're from first degree black belt to fifth, that's when you change your belt again. It's worth it. I still have every single of my belts hanging up.
Yeah.
They never have touched the floor ever once. The only time they touch the floor, when your instructor unties you and he yanks it off and throws it away. That it represents ripping like a phoenix. Rebirth to the next stop, next rank, and so on. If that makes sense to you.
You're telling the truth. You're telling the truth, because there's another thing I also learned. You don't let somebody wear your belt. The belt is kind of sacred. Either you're blue, you're a white belt, you're purple, you're orange, you're blue, you're orange, you're brown, you're black. If you let anyone play with the belt, that's like a stain. It's not a disrespect. Mm-hmm. The way they tie the belt is not something to play around with, because Japanese culture, when it comes to dealing with karate, is more aligned with the samurai culture, right?
Exactly. They're tied together, I believe, personally.
And when it comes to karate in Japan, which is a samurai art, there's the opposite of the samurai, we call ninjutsu, which is kind of like it's an art that was created by farmers when they couldn't practice the art of the samurai, which is karate. So they created something over time that had been perfected at an art of stealth. Now, that chart you did put there right there, that is where a lot of debate is themed from. Look at China.
This is kind of where I was going with it. Now, like I said, certainly salute to China and to Japan for having so many disciplines. I can share this URL where I found this. I think China is home to 19 major forms of martial arts, and by this we're talking about the places where the martial arts originated.
It's more than 19. Some died with the clan.
Right. But as far as the ones that are, I guess the ones that are known, based on current research. So I think China had 19, Japan had 14, India and Korea had 6, Brazil had 5, and then a couple for the USA, which is kind of, that's debatable within itself. But we're talking about the places where, again, the martial art had originated. So this is what I was talking about earlier. I mean, everybody focuses on the Far East, but look at all these. How many African martial arts have there been? In fact, I have the next slide I have. So I just handpicked. So again, there were so many different martial arts that were listed there, but I listed some of the ones that I found most interesting. So if you look at to the point that you had made earlier, from Angola, this form called Ngolo. Now again, Angola was a slave, a lot of slaves that in the transatlantic slave trade, they came from Angola. And they had their own form of martial arts. They had their own form of combative sport. That Ngolo, they brought it with them, and that actually became Brazilian capoeira. I think you made that point earlier. Bingo. Capoeira is essentially an African fighting form.
Bingo.
But a lot of people don't recognize that when they're talking about that. But you can see here by country, everyone knows Krav Maga. But again, Egypt has its own fighting form. France, I think a lot of people may already know, Savate is.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Krav Maga and Savate is one of the most popular martial arts that have been practiced among the military.
Yes.
Let you know.
Yes.
Krav Maga is mostly either to the Marine, if I'm correct, Army and the Marine.
Right.
Savate is between the Air Force and I think but they're the most popular because they're not so flashy. But it's more precise.
It's more, definitely much more precise.
My issue, I'm sorry, Paul, but my issue with Krav Maga, again, I'm talking from a martial artist now, standard Paul. It has a lot of loopholes. It's a quick style teaching. It's a 1, 2, 3, go boom, 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 and you're done. You went in and out kind of thing.
Yeah.
Versus a my martial arts, you are okay. You observe the situation. You got 3 guys right here. You're not going to win that fight. How do you get out of that fight fast? Kick the guy in the balls and get out of there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
My style says to you, you can kick. There's no rule says you cannot kick balls. You can poke him in the eye, spit on him, bite him, and rip his groin out if you have to. Survivor mode. That's what matters. So with Krav Maga, I found a lot of loopholes. And
right. And like I said, we can certainly talk about that. Like I said, the purpose of this is to show people where these arts originate. Like I said, so much of the focus, and again, I was a victim of this. I mean, again, I grew up on Kung Fu theater, so again, Shaw Brothers. So that was all I knew. When you said any kind of martial arts, my mind immediately went to the Asian martial arts. But what I just wanted to highlight here is, again, all the different places where these arts originated, and these are the forerunners to more known martial arts today. So like I said, the Ngolo, that is the forerunner to, again, capoeira. And which again is very popular, and people refer to it. Now again, there's debate over, is capoeira a practical fighting form or is it dancing? I mean, I've heard that debate for a lot of years now. Again, the ones who really study it legitimately is that no, it's a pretty bad martial, it's a pretty a good martial art. But
Tai Chi is another good example.
No, the thing is.
Hang on.
Oh yeah, Tai Chi also. Yeah, the original Tai Chi. It's not just like doing yoga in the morning. No, I mean it has a practical purpose to everything, but it's been so watered down towards it's just senior citizens do it or something like that, or it's like having yoga or meditation or something. But I just want to show these.
I'm glad you said that because Angola, you say it's the root of capoeira, but the thing Angola got mixed with a dancing style to hide. So the Angola is the basic. Capoeira is a more advanced version of Angola because then if you look at the history, they say that they didn't want the slave trader to know their fighting style. So what they did, they mixed Angola with a dancing style to mask it so it looked like a dancer, but in reality, it's a hidden form of Angola, which is a more advanced version.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Right. But I just want to also highlight, again, a couple of now, this is also a debate that I've had with martial artists. Anytime you mention martial arts, you don't necessarily mention wrestling. So again, if you look at here now, I don't know how to pronounce this. Groomy, you might help me out.
Romo Greco Wrestling.
Pancration is
That
what
is one version, but the best version is called also Roman Greco Wrestling. That's the English
Right.
definition of it.
Right. So those are martial arts to me. Since you're talking about combative fighting, especially now when you look at MMA, where so much of it is based on your ground game. They talk about
Grappling.
and why early on a lot of those amateur wrestlings, why they excel so much in the MMA initially is because they say if you can wrestle, if you can get somebody on the ground, even in street fighting, they say if you can get a guy on the ground, then you have the advantage. But nobody talks about wrestling at the same level as martial arts. And that always bothered me. The same
Because
thing
they didn't look at the history. That's why.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That's the reason why.
I'm not gonna say Greco wrestling wasn't oldest. I think between Asian, Greek, and Egyptian, those are the three most oldest ones. I'm not saying which one is higher or anything.
Right.
So what I will say is a lot of the old school wrestling moves that Greco wrestling teaches, and I've never learned it personally.
Mhm.
I have seen a lot of documentaries. I've seen videos. I talk to fellow Greeks who know it very well. There's no belt system, first of all, and that one.
Mhm.
Two, it's very hard. I mean, in your face wrestling. A lot of stuff you see in amateur wrestler came from that. But
Right.
a lot of things they actually do that can probably snap your neck in 3 different ways.
Mhm.
I can only explain in a pornographic way. They don't teach that.
Right.
They teach it if you have to be a specific teacher, like down in Athens. Excuse me, down in Athens, who actually focus on that. They actually have a school in Athens who teaches Greco wrestling, and the martial art is hardcore. It tells you this is not for amateurs. This is not for
Right.
the weak heart. You're gonna
Right.
obviously you're gonna start low. You move yourself up. He's not gonna break you, of course. He's a teacher at the end of the day.
Mhm.
So if you go walking around an ego, like like a lot of martial arts, like I have a couple of old students of mine came in. Oh, I have a black belt in so and so. Like, yeah, and I'm like, oh, I don't honor my belt. No, you start from the ground one, buddy. You're
Right.
a no belt. You have to earn
Right.
your white belt. A what? I have to earn my white belt? Yeah.
Right. But I'm really focusing on
Yeah. I was
is
using that for
again,
example, of course.
right. But I'm saying, but the association, why is it? Same thing go all the way down. Boxing
So I would say
originated in
one
the
thing.
UK. Why
will say-
isn't boxing considered a martial art?
I do. I think it's boxing. It is a martial art.
I'm saying, but I'm talking about the general. I'm talking the general perception. And again, Black David, you know that everybody knows this.
That
When you
word
talk about martial
boxing.
arts, no one talks about wrestling. No one talks about fencing. No one talks about boxing. And it's interesting because Bruce Lee, when he created Jeet Kune Do, he took elements of all that. He was an amateur boxing champion in high school. He loved Western boxing. He studied Muhammad Ali for his footwork.
But at the same time, Jeet Kune Do is the byproduct of Wing Chun from his master.
It's definitely, like I said, Wing Chun is certainly a foundation, but then he took these other combative forms of fighting and he integrated them into his art. But I'm just saying the general population does not associate boxing, fencing, wrestling, whether it be freestyle or Greco-Roman. They're not openly associated with the martial arts community.
The thing with boxing, I'm not sure what the issue is, but I think there's something along with the different version of boxing. Because there's a thing called Chinese boxing. And if I remember correctly, during the history book, there's a time when the European, both England, the French, and American came to China and they were trying to prove. There was a movie talking about the history where they tried to look down on the Chinese and they brought in boxing. And there were different type of art out there that they weren't particular that rival boxing, but for some reason, because of how the English people were going along with the box, they were kind of rigging it. So it's almost like if they didn't treat boxing as a martial art, because if you think about it, throughout the history of boxing, there's a lot of rigging going on in boxing. That's where the problem comes to play. So what they consider to be a art form, when it's not really so pure to begin with compared to Chinese boxing.
See, that right. That I got a problem with that. Because again,
you're right. It's a good argument, but when you got to look at the history, how the people took their own art and made it look bad compared to everybody else. Because the thing is, remember, in boxing, they could wear the glove, but what they were doing at the time was rigging, hiding, applying all type of method because
right.
that's where you put
I'm
a
not
stain.
referring to look the business of boxing or the staging of
I
fights
get
or
it.
whatever.
I get it because
Right.
for a practitioner, when you talk about martial art is open hand. Keyword, you're using the hand a lot of time. Unless it's weapon, the actual marks, that's a different story. Boxing, you're not sure it is open.
Same thing.
Boxing, it's not sure if it's open hand or it's weapon. Because in between,
But that's what I'm saying. It's that even the question whether or not when you define it as open hand, but then martial arts also includes weapons, so it's not solely open hand.
And
so if
you're
you
right,
have
but
open hand or closed hand or fist or whatever, again, it's that's what I'm saying. I just think, and again, I've just gotten this from martial arts communities over the years that it's almost to say, okay, well, we're superior. But again, I've seen time and time, and we're going to see more of this over time because you're having these cross matches that we're seeing where these MMA guys are getting in there with boxers, and it's very dangerous because these guys are going to get seriously hurt. Because if you think you can be an MMA striker is not the same, or any kind of quote unquote martial arts punches. You put any of those guys in with a trained boxer, they're going to get knocked out, and they are getting knocked out.
And
it is very dangerous because they're not the same discipline. If you think boxing is easy, just go in there and dance around. The sweet science, as it's called, and this is more, I guess, I didn't study martial arts like you guys did, but certainly I have a lot more familiarity with boxing. And I'm telling you, the sweet science, the ability to hit without being hit, the footwork, all those things that are involved. If you don't think it does not require the same level of dedication and mindset, and I'm not saying you guys, I'm just saying how the general public perceives it, or the martial arts community at large perceives it. If you don't think that is martial art at its apex, then I think you're doing a disservice to those
and
guys.
I'm glad you said that,
because years in which it's been evolved over time. So that's just a key with me. I just
no, Mr. Bennett, your argument is legit. Let me tell you why I say it's legit. Based on the promotion, UFC have made it to the point whereby almost anybody can get into MMA, and they don't have really a solid background. The original UFC back then was actually practitioners who were coming into it.
Yeah.
But when Dana White took over that promotion, he made it almost like a showman sport, but it became a problem when I watched the last couple of years of fight. I can almost tell they're just copying some coach. They have no foundation.
No.
There are a few practitioners who got into it and they saw what it was, and they left the promotion, go to other promotions like one PC or one FC, I forgot what to call it, where they're actually real practitioners that get into it. But you have different sections. You got the MMA version, you got the Thai box version, you got the Jiu-Jitsu version going on because they have division now. You have weight class, but you also have different style of bout.
Right.
Because the guy who runs that promotion had an issue with Dana White. Dana White's not really much about martial arts. He's just like a promoter trying to make money off it.
Right.
But anyone who practices real martial, who has the fundamental, the discipline, you can read these fights easy and tell the person don't have a foundation, the person don't have a style.
Right.
And you're correct. A boxer who coming into MMA have an upper hand against someone who don't have a foundation in any style.
Right.
Period. But if someone were to hide it, say he got Chinese boxing style in his arsenal and don't let nobody know about it, and kept it quiet for a while and got into UFC. Chinese boxing is a little more dangerous than boxing. For the simple fact, anyone who understands Chinese martial art, there's a thing called conditioning, whereby if you thought that you see shaking his head, nodding his head.
Yeah.
Chinese boxing.
Getting flashbacks. Thanks.
Chinese boxing. I don't think people understand it, but you are doing things that will make your hand almost as hard as steel.
Yeah.
By you're punching wooden pad over an order till you're breaking the calluses in your arm.
Dude, I used to hit a brick
break it there with wood, they brick, they put in sand in a pot, and you heat it
Don't
up.
Remind me.
All these things over time, they even did a sign. They do the sign much the more demonstrate about different what it done to the protein hand or to the bone. What it does when you break the calcium over and over a period of time, the calcium deposit that they build on over the hand to the
Yeah.
knuckle, everything to the point whereby it's so solid. It's like taking that down into a bone, hitting somebody in the head with
Yeah.
it. So imagine someone who have a background in Chinese boxing who have went through the type of conditioning at a young age, from wood to brick to hot sand over the period of time till the hand is so hardened,
Mhm.
and then let everybody know about it, and did other style to cover it up and got into UFC. That person will be more deadly than a boxer
Right.
because they're breaking not just stack or brick, solid brick ice, all kind of craziness going on.
Right.
They're punching things. I mean, saw a video when you get these multi-boxers breaking
I get it.
bone. So anyone who don't have a foundation going to UFC is not the same as someone who had a foundation go to one fight. So you are
Right.
right. Yeah, these boxers going to UFC, they got the advantage. But God forbid people try to sneak in and hide the original art from the promoters. Imagine how much damage you're doing to a person's body.
Right.
I'll give
But
you a better
even still,
example there
just
for a
going back
second.
comparing to the boxing, though, I mean, all that stuff is great. You know, breaking bricks, breaking boards, hardening your hands. But boxing at its essence is about the ability to hit without being hit, to use head movement, to use footwork, distance, apply distance. So again, that only works when you can get in range or the target's going to be there for you to hit. So I'm not saying
That's-
those guys aren't dangerous.
and-
If you're going to put your head on a swivel, yeah, they'll knock it off.
It's the same thing with martial art. Martial art teach you the same fundamental too.
Yes.
How to throw the punch, how to make sure you don't get hit, how to maneuver. Sometimes they teach you how to make your body so fluid
Yeah.
that you can almost, how you say, predict what a punch will be and you can follow it through.
Right.
Because there's some art, it's not that simple to learn over time.
Right.
It's like you have to push your body through the regimen to the point where it becomes fluent.
Mhm.
And believe me when I say I don't like to get hit as much like women, like, but I got hit plenty of times. And the pain
Mhm.
is worse than boxing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that right now.
Right.
It's far worse than boxing. It go bone deep.
Mm.
And to have that pain that lasts you for a month and haven't wear off yet, it's like a constant reminder. You don't want to get hit.
Mhm.
So yeah, just like boxing, where you gotta go to the rhythm and know how to measure your distance. Same thing with some other martial art. They teach you that and much more. The
Yeah.
problem is some martial art, they require you to pull back your punch
Mhm.
for the sake of you don't kill nobody.
Well, no, I mean, point fighting, certainly back in the day where guys were, judged on that kind of thing. Yeah, that was, non-combat, even for the Olympics.
I get the non-combat part, but the thing is, it's based on the style they practice them. Remember I talk about the hand conditioning?
Yeah.
Imagine you go through all that to make your fist strong and you're teaching the style how to use it. Imagine if you don't know how to control your power and you lash out of anger.
Yeah.
Imagine what that one look like when somebody hits you.
Right.
But then a couple of times, you tell the news, there's some real martial artist who got robbed and they end up losing their cool and you see the aftermath on somebody's face.
Right.
That is because, one, they always tell mixed martial artists, never fight when you are angry. The reason why the amount of force, the amount of sheer force behind it is much more devastating when you're controlling it. You can do
like
something.
I said earlier, always control the fight, no matter what.
Yeah. Groomy, get in here. Just based on what we're talking about, based on these different systems that I'm showing here and whatnot. Okay, so you get on this.
I wanted David to finish his sentence before that. So here's the thing. Okay, he's 100% right. Everything he's saying, pretty much. Only thing I would disagree with is like some styles. They're not saying let's go to UFC for a second. Here's my comment on that UFC guys coming in. Remember Kimbo Slice?
Kimbo Slice, yeah.
He was a street fighter. He was
Yeah.
no martial artist. That's my problem with UFC. You have
So
a guy.
but why not? But wait a minute.
Let me hang on one second.
Okay.
Let me finish my. You see where?
Okay.
Let me finish my sentence, and then you can, you
Okay,
see what I'm thinking. So what we're talking about, UFC, we call it Universal Ultimate Fighter, right?
Mhm.
So when I grew up in that, when the first ones were, you had to have some type of black belt and study. That shit went out the fucking window when Dane White dipshit motherfucker bought the company.
Mhm.
And now it says anybody who can fight, who can put gloves on, can fight. So if you put me against somebody like yourself who's never trained, let's say we're equal, like you're my height, same
Mhm.
weight, same everything. The only difference, you have zero experience of any kind of style, technical training
Mhm.
versus me. Now I grab you, I throw you. Now I have control of the whole fight.
Mhm.
Next minute I know your head is like a fucking a walnut because I just crushed your skull because I'm training to win money.
Mhm.
Now you cannot put a. That's my problem with goddamn fucking UFC. If people say I'm a martial artist, you're not a fucking martial artist. If you have not earned your stripes like I did, Black David, Master Right, Master fucking Shin, you're not a fucking martial artist. I have blood for a fucking belt.
Same here.
So you're not gonna sit there and tell me you're a martial artist when you actually break your fucking hand completely, still win a fucking match, and your instructor goes, "Your hand is broken." No, it's fine. Okay, it's broken. Like that's how you're a martial artist. You do not. We don't know pain. Like I don't feel pain because I conditioned myself so hard to the point. The only place I feel pain is two places: is my nutsack and my eyes.
Mhm.
I'll be honest, because you're not kicking me in the balls, you're not poking me in the eye. I have literally my instructor jump up from a chair, put a chair. He jumped up, heels first to my stomach. The first time I puked. The second time I puked. Eventually, I conditioned my stomach so hard. I'm like, that's my problem with that. Now, boxing is a martial art. Here's my theory behind this whole, which one is a real martial art, what is not. All of them are martial arts in a way. But Asian martial art, I'm talking about karate and kung fu being the most popular because they knew how to promote it correctly over the years. There's no which one is right, which one's wrong. You know which one is wrong is right? Who wins the fight? It doesn't matter if one day a Roman Greco wins a fight versus a jiu-jitsu guy, then a kung fu guy. It just had to been that day. He was better that day.
Mhm.
He was better on his point. I have lost multiple fights, and I know that because he was better than me that day. Not because my style sucked. He was better. He was on point, and I was off a minute. Simple.
Same here.
So you don't necessarily, because initially you said if you haven't earned your stripes,
Mhm.
if you haven't gone up through the ranks, if you haven't earned your belts, you're not a martial artist. But then how would you classify that for a boxer? There are no belts in boxing. I mean, there's championship belts, but I'm saying, but there's amateur, there's ranks you go through. So how does a boxer, or how does a wrestler for that matter, earn his stripes? Is it simply just by winning tournaments, winning matches?
Yeah, I was winning tournaments and matches,
measure
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Golden gloves, stuff like that. I'll give boxers that the different category. And like they have to win so many fights before they be called a pro.
That's true. Every time have its own way.
We're not talking about whether they're pro or not. We're talking about why are they martial artists?
I explained it. Every style have their own ranking system of how they operate. In karate, they have the belt. In kung fu, I think it's based on what I forgot what they call it. Help me out with that one.
Oh,
Every style.
It's like a SAS almost.
Thank you. Same thing with Thai boxing. Same thing with Krav Maga. Same thing with Dambe. Same thing with Sambo. Every fighting martial art style have a ranking, including boxing. Boxing, there's a ranking style you have to go to from amateur before you get to the pro, which is normal. Same thing with Jeet Kune Do. The thing is, if like you said, when you haven't earned your stripe, if you haven't climbed up the ranking system, you're not really a martial artist. So either you got a belt in karate, or you got a start in kung fu, or you have some kind of ranking and climb. it all applied. What he was saying, I had to agree with him because I had an issue with people who never earned their shot, kind of getting into it. I remember one time in college, someone was trying to go into it and said they want to show me something. And what I did to that person, I literally embarrassed the person because I was really pissed off. Now, me with a karate style, fighting someone who do jiu-jitsu or judo, that's a disadvantage to me because I don't have a lot of grappling arsenal in my repertoire learning from karate alone. And judo or jiu-jitsu is more into grappling. So no matter how I got pinned, using the technique he used against me, and I used everything I know in back of my mind, trying to disable it, and I couldn't. That's because he was a better person. So I had to show my respect. But someone who have no style want to come in and try something, unless I would be vindictive, I can dislocate your wrists to the point you can never get it back. That you had to do surgery to fix it. And that's real talk. I did it back in high school. One guy come at me and trying to do something. Emma would tell you, I kick a person across the classroom. Literally, kicked the guy and the guy flew across the classroom. One end of the room to the other. And it happened in less than 3 seconds. And I looking for me, I didn't get punished by my thing because I'm not put to fight. We took an oath not to use our style into any real life fighting because you know why? We're taught to be a weapon.
Right.
When you learn martial art, you're becoming a weapon automatically. The thing they teach you how to maneuver your human body to be that very deadly. It's not that simple. You could dislocate somebody's shoulder in 17 to 20 different ways to the point where they can never get it fixed unless you do surgery.
I'll give you a better example. Paul, your collarbone. Do you know how many pounds of pressure that it breaks?
It's not much.
13 pounds of pressure. You know how much pounds of pressure it takes to break a pencil?
Probably about the same amount. It's not
exactly.
Yeah.
That's how thin it is.
Yeah.
So what David is saying is right. I've been in the same situations. Like people are fucking with me, like, I'm like, you know what? Enough is enough. Sometimes a man can take so much,
Right.
and I should not be using my martial arts outside my dojo either. But
Right.
All
right.
So
So
let's go and find out. Simple as that.
Okay. All right. So getting back to again this definition, like I said, I really want us to walk away with again a definition or stand we can all kind of agree on and come to terms with. And again, I'm not saying that there's a lot of disagreement between any of us on this matter. So we're saying martial arts is again a structured combative form of fighting with
Correct.
some sort of grading or ranking system.
Correct.
That you can prepare for. You can kind of climb up the ranks, whether it be in amateur boxing or amateur wrestling. You can go from high school, college, Olympics. I don't think there's a professional division for amateur wrestling or Greco-Roman or whatever. I know I know there was like a shoot wrestling in Japan for some time, but I'm not sure if there was like for Greco-Roman. There's a professional ranks for Greco-Roman right now.
Yeah, that's actually in Greece.
Okay, in Greece. Okay, but I wasn't aware.
Same thing with karate. They had a professional division.
That I knew. Yeah, that I knew. I just wasn't sure if there was an avenue for amateur wrestlers, like Olympic style wrestlers, to go into a professional setting. And I'm glad they have that outlet, because I see a lot of these guys, or at least what I used to see, a lot of these guys would come out of that, but they would go into other things. They would go into MMA. Or they would go into some other, or even professional wrestling, which we know is, it's a different thing altogether. Kurt Angle, Olympic gold medal champion, went into wrestling. And a lot of those early guys from the 60s and whatnot, these guys had, strong amateur wrestling backgrounds, and certainly they took it into that arena. But
that gives you a good example.
There was no avenue for those guys.
Gives you a great example. In Japan, where wrestling is humongous over there, a lot of martial artists go into wrestling.
Yeah.
Is it new? New Japanese Pro Wrestling? I think the company's called. Half of them are
New Japan Pro Wrestling. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
That's what I was talking about. And half of them are actual black belt holder degrees. And one thing I want to mention: the whole myth that you need to be certified as a weapon, as a martial artist, is baloney. Don't ever. I hate when I hear that. Are you certified as a weapon? Like, there's no such thing.
Right.
Somebody started that rumor years ago. I'm like, I should slap you across the face for saying that to me.
Right. Right.
I'm
That's
like,
good to know.
at least I know New Jersey, PA, and New York doesn't require that.
Does not require
Maryland
that.
too. That is the biggest myth I ever heard.
Gotcha.
It's no
Right,
certification for a beat weapon, but if you're part of a particular style in the United States, I was told you had to get yourself registered. If you don't register your art and you get into a situation, get into a fight, and they find out you are that lethal, was it like what 10 to 15 years?
Again, from my cousin who was an NYPD detective, when I asked him that question several times, he goes, "No, dude, we don't. That's a myth." And like as a martial artist, yeah, you can get hit if they find out you're a martial artist and you use your your martial arts as an offense, not as a defense, and they find out you were in fault. Yeah, you can get hit with a harder penalty. You could be hit 15, 20, even 40 years. Yeah, so you have to be as a martial artist, and that's why we as instructors, as myself as a sensei, I have to screen my students very carefully. If I'm finding out they're learning this to go street fight to win money, and they could put a bad name on my style, on my instructor, and on my school, oh, you're getting booted out.
I don't teach for that same reason, because for some reason I hate to say
I don't teach anymore. But when I did,
in the US, they make a mockery. It's like it's something simple, but it's not simple, because what I got to go through, just like you said, the amount of pain I went through my body to learn this art, the amount of punishment I had to go through, the stuff I put my body through to learn this art is not that simple. Perfect example, you're outside in the hot sun on concrete ground, and you're forced to do a knuckle push about 100 till your knuckle turn black.
You got lucky there.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
No, he's lucky because my instructor used to do at 95-degree weather outside. He used to turn the heat to 90 with a gi is this thick, like a carpet, and we're running laps and laps and laps. Like, where is this guy? He comes out from his office, refreshed. He has a cold iced tea on his hand. He goes,
I did that too.
I'm
barefooted on concrete ground, barefooted.
His mats weren't mats; they were concrete, carpet over it. And by the time your feet are like, I'll put it this way: you don't want to see my feet. That's how fucked up my feet are. The callus are so bad.
Don't even try to smell it. You smell it while you're running.
Wow.
I'm gonna, when I come to New York, I'm shoving my feet in your face. That's what I'm gonna do. But my callus are so bad. I literally went to get a pedicure. That's how bad my feet are. I know that sounds like, oh man, don't do it. I don't care. Men do that too. The girl goes, "We can't take your money." I'm like, "Why not?" We can't do anything with your feet that bad. How bad it is.
And African sun heat on concrete ground is not it's like, you ever hear somebody's feet sizzling on concrete ground?
Yeah, mine.
Jeez. Wow. Right. I want to put this slide. I just want to highlight here again, certainly for the audience and for those who again may not have known these things. Again, Africa has a rich martial arts history to it. And as you can see here from Angola, you have the Angola that we talked about earlier, Egypt with the Tatib. I hope I'm pronouncing that. Again, the Morangi from Madagascar, the Dambe. In fact, like Dale, why don't you talk about that? I'm just going to go through these, and we're going to come back to it.
Dambe.
So the one thing I would say before we go into like any culture that has a history of dark is like Greece, Africa, France, and those. They have a history of type of martial arts.
Exactly.
United States probably one of the few would probably don't because we're a very young country versus other countries out there.
Right, and we're also talking about origination. That's why even in this poll here, I had a problem with the last one. So yes, even though Bruce Lee was an American, he was born in San Francisco, 1940. Clearly, a lot of his martial art base came from Kung Fu, from Wing Chun. Absolutely correct. And he added all these other Western styles, like I said, fencing and Salat. I mean, he brought a lot of things into his martial
art. And he got in trouble for that.
But I wouldn't necessarily consider Jeet Kune Do an American martial art because again,
I would either. I would not either. I wouldn't.
Country, and again, you just don't have that history. But again, a lot of these forms were made prior to any interaction with
According,
Asia or from Europe or whatever. These African styles have been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
so
And
according to
yeah.
Master Ray, my instructor,
Mhm.
Jeet Kune Do is a mixed martial art Chinese style.
Yes.
He don't know if he knew Bruce Lee personally, but he knew the style. He knew a couple of students from coming out of that style.
Mhm.
But he's same thing with the style of Vion Fujitsu, who is actually based out of New York City in the Bronx, I think. That is a mixed martial art also out of the Philippines.
Yes. And again, Philippines has its own Kali,
Yes,
Eskrima, stick fighting styles and whatnot. Again, you see here the I hope I'm saying this right. The Nguni or Nguni stick fighting from South Africa, the Nuba fighting
Nguni
from
stick
Sudan.
fighting. Oh, that's not normal. That's not a simple art to learn.
Yeah,
Trust me.
the Lam from Senegal. So I'm just going. And again, we all heard about Sistema and Sambo from Russia. And again, I think they're military. I think those guys are trained in Sistema and Sambo. They're military.
Dambe, you happen to talk about is very, very brutal. It's
Right.
not some
Talk about that. 'Cause I never really heard about it or anybody. Now, have you studied it? Is it commonly studied in Nigeria or by Nigerians?
Dambe
Talk
is a
about highlight that a little
popular
bit, what you know about it.
comeback sport in Nigeria, whereby it's mostly around the village. It's not done around the city, it's mostly in the village area, but it's very brutal. When I say very, very brutal, a man just want to wrap their hand to the point it's almost like a club. And you're fighting whereby you trying to find that right opening to ram that person. Sometimes they go a little further than that because they're different levels. Sometimes it's one hand, sometimes two hand. Either wrap it around or work it out. They get too brutal. Like let's say, based on traditional you fighting to the death. That hand's wrapped, dipping some sticky something, and they're bringing something like rock or something sharp. When I'm talking about you really going in, you going in. Dambe is not a simple. They used to say when I came to Nigeria the first time, they used to make fun of me because I'm weak. Because I'm coming from the U.S. because I don't have that conditioning. I learned mixed martial. I learned karate in Nigeria, but a lot of African people, when I say they're very sturdy, even the women are more sturdy than the men out here.
Here's the thing, Black David. A lot of cultures, except United States, that you have to learn this as you're growing up. It's part of your education in school.
Yeah,
Greek was like that, but not anymore. I'll use Asian mostly because they're the most popular ones. Chinese and Japanese, Koreans. They have to learn this in school.
Well, part of it, but also just like even with the gym classes, a lot of this was prep because you had mandatory military service.
Exactly.
So you were gonna go into these branches of military. So yeah, they wanted you knowing as much as possible.
Let's backtrack here for 1 second. Let's backtrack here. Most martial artists started from a military purposes. Like so, when
China, Japan, South Korea, you have to learn it one way or the other. Especially you had to committed to like 2 or 3 years in the military. You had to go to that regiment. The Chinese school is like mandatory for all youth. There's no excuse around that. That's the craziness about it. And to this day they still do it. In Japan,
I'll give you a better example, Black David. Like my instructor has scrolls that pass down. Now his son has them, obviously, passed down from generation to generation. And I looked at him like, can I touch those? He goes, yeah, go ahead. I'm like, really? Yeah. I just got to put these white gloves on only. I'm like, and I open them like very carefully. They're very delicate. And there's all structures written down how it's style. Even to the point, this is a myth, obviously. Now we know that. Like there's talking about a story about a dark Hokage coming back to life and taking over all this stuff, like demon stuff. I'm like, huh? I'm like, I thought it was fascinating personally. But I'm using that as an example because there's so much stuff out there we don't even have even fractured a little bit. They keep everything hush hush.
Yeah.
Asian people keep it very private stuff.
Right. All right. So let me move to, first of all, we got about 20 minutes left in the show. Just want to go back into the chat. Just acknowledge some of the people. This is one of the things I was looking for. I knew the time would fly on this topic. So it's like man,
We
we're
are
almost
definitely doing
we
part
got to have a
two.
part two
Yeah.
coming up.
And you,
sure.
hey, Black David, you're definitely on that one. I don't care. I'll
Absolutely.
come to New York and I will fight you on that one.
Awesome. But information, man, again, thank you so much for stopping through tonight. Randy,
My
I
man.
appreciate you stopping on through. And again, through the chat again, really appreciate you guys for making the effort to stop on through. I know it's Sunday, people getting back into, preparing for work for Monday. And, so we really appreciate you guys hanging out with us tonight. And hopefully you've saw this particular show as helpful, because even like I said, a lot of this stuff I didn't know, especially when it came to different martial arts systems and where they were founding, certainly in Africa, and you knew about the ones in Asia and whatnot, but Africa, there hasn't been a lot. And maybe Black David, that would be certainly a show where we may be able to get some other practitioners from if we can get some of these practitioners or people who know about, I don't know, I know some Somalis, not sure I know folks from Sudan or what have you, but some of these people who can talk about some of these African fighting styles, that would certainly be of benefit to the show. But in the last segment I want to go to, and this would go ahead,
Paul, before we go, I was going to give me a good idea. I'm going to try to get a hold of Professor David James. David James is the grandmaster of Violence Jiu-Jitsu out of New York. That's one of the mixed martial arts. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be happy to do it because he's really big about talking about it and stuff like that. I don't know him personally, but New York's not too far. I can maybe stop by his dojo.
Gotcha.
If we could get Mandrell on there, because he's a practitioner.
Oh yeah,
himself.
Mandrell. Yeah. Mandrell is still making he's still making his nest. He's building his nest right now.
How long?
Hey, they say in the Bible, men were prohibited from military service for 1 year. They had to go home and please your wife for 1 year straight. So if he I know he's not the most religious guy, but he might want to read that scripture. So he might be on a 4 year. Yeah.
He only needs 2 months to put her in the hospital. That's all.
I bet you right now he's probably out of juice. He's probably using the blue pill at this point.
Oh man, he had a lot stored up. I don't know, man. He had years of stored up.
Yes,
there,
I went there.
Good man. I don't want him to come here and talk to me and you back to back. We're like, oh, y'all talking about me right now? And I'm not here to. Okay, I got you.
Nah, we love Mandrell. Shout out to my brother. I am so happy for him.
He like my twin brother to me.
That he found his bride, and he's enjoying that married life, and all the best of you guys, and yeah, definitely build that up. But this last segment I want to go into, and this is if there was going to be pushback from my initial argument. So I talked about this idea of martial arts being, again, this combative form of fighting that has a technical nature to it, and a discipline, and the rankings, and all those kind of things. And I certainly, to this day, I would still put wrestling, fencing, boxing, certainly into that conversation. But here's one pushback I would get from some martial artists, and want to share with you guys. We didn't talk about tonight. There is a spiritual aspect to a lot of martial arts. When we talk about chi force, when we talk about the meditation, when we talk about the mental and spiritual components of it that boxing may not have. You got to have an attitude in boxing. You have to have, and these other fencing and wrestling and whatnot, where, they say that the differentiator is that martial arts goes beyond just the technique, that it goes into these spiritual disciplines that one develops. Because again, and from what I've seen, most you want to talk about guys who get into like the Dan levels of the, second Dan, third Dan, eighth Dan. These guys aren't even fighting anymore. I mean, it's almost like learning how to fight is like the beginning of knowledge when it comes to a lot of these people. It's like, so what, you can do a roundhouse kick and all that kind of stuff, but really the mental and spiritual is what's there. So how do you guys look at that when it comes to the spiritual aspects of martial arts? And I would say, also, just follow up question from a spiritual point of view, and this is something that I haven't really asked a lot of people. I'll ask it here. Do you find any conflicts from a spiritual perspective between the study of martial arts and your faith? I know both of you are Christian people, or have certainly Christian backgrounds. And certainly, is that something where you found those two things at odds with one another at any given time? That could definitely be its own show in and of itself.
I
for
did.
sure.
I will say that real quick. Studying the Shitu karate style, there is a spiritual aspect behind Shitu Ryo, which is
Mhm.
no different from Okinawa the oldest. And I got to a point without acting my saying that based on what level in black belt when you dive into the spiritual aspect of karate. If I remember correctly, he said after you reach the second or third dan, that when you start to get the border of it. Because
Mhm.
if they as a Christian, it's not that simple. Same thing with Kung Fu, same thing with Muay Thai. They are spiritual act. This is why I said, and I agree with Grumman, those people who go in the UFC, they're not martial artists because those who really get to that level of second, third down, fourth down, they more than likely cannot be fighting for money because if they want to do somebody dirty, they can mess you up internally and you will not realize what happened to you. It's something very, very deadly because let's be real. You have these underground martial art tournament that you never going to hear about.
Mhm.
And perfect example, it's say based on a true story, Bloodsport.
Yeah, Frank Dukes.
Mhm.
There you go. If you part of a particular art and style, you gotta prove that you part of that particular style.
Mhm.
And there's certain spiritual aspect behind it on breaking brick that is not normal.
Mhm.
It is not. So when American people look at it and say, oh, that's a mumble jumble, less than one hit you and your organ exploded inside.
Mhm.
And they do a diagnostic check and there's no visual bruise in you, but it's on the inside. Will
Mhm.
explain how that happened?
Mhm.
Like, come on, you can't mess. Even I knew that if I were to get my black belt, where would I stop? If I get second down and I know I'm about to get to that up, I'm gonna have to stop at second down because of my fate.
Mhm.
Because when you go to second, third down, you gotta make a choice either to drop your fate and go in further, or you stop right there and say, I'm good right here.
Mhm.
Because when you go to that third down, you go into a world whereby you're learning pressure point, learning different spirituality behind the style and the art. It
Mhm.
will mess you up mentally. But
Mhm.
if you're not mentally prepared for that, don't do it.
Mhm.
Just don't. I want to say martial art that have a spiritual aspect mixed with it's never something normal to talk about. In most cases, it's pure hush hush.
Mhm.
And Gumi will tell you the same thing. It's pure hush hush.
Yeah,
We
Groom,
don't
take it
speak
from here.
about it much.
What's your views
So
on that spiritual aspect? Yeah.
I'm gonna put that. I'm gonna add a couple things into it too. So the spiritual thing is a challenge every day. Which one do you believe? Which one you don't believe? Is I'm Christian. Went to church today. Yeah, it's a struggle every single day. But
Mhm.
it is a spiritual thing. The Last Samurai explains it perfectly to the T. Watch that movie and talk to me then. It explains that
Okay.
he was spiritually perfectly. Now, when it comes to some hush hush he was talking about, first, you learn everything after your first degree black belt. I thought I knew
Mhm.
it. Then I'm like, no, I'm like, you learn the
Yeah, they said
techniques.
that's the beginning.
Yeah.
Getting a black belt is the beginning. That's the doorway
Yeah.
into these deeper things.
So Master Ray finally kind of like let his guard down with me after my first degree black belt. He goes, now the real lesson begins. And I
Yeah.
remember that face of his. And
Yeah.
I'm covered in blood at this point. I just went through a
Mm.
4-hour black belt test. I
Mm.
sparred him for 3 hours almost.
Mhm.
His son, his wife. I mean, I did everything in the name. I named
Mhm.
every. I had to count in Japanese. Ich ni san shu go ru zhe sung. I'm like,
Mhm.
I had to do all this stuff. And I'm like, just begin.
Yeah.
I literally started crying. I literally cried like a baby. But then for my fourth degree, he took. I'm like, I was this close before I blew my knee out. I had to go upstate New York to his uncle's dojo, who is not a like a regular dojo. Like you think you drive up there, you drive like an hour or 2 hours, then it's an hour hike up the mountain. No cell phone reception, no water, running water, no nothing. Old school way. And I remember I actually visited him one time just for a weekend to see it. I had to carry my own water to boil to take a shower.
Mhm.
It took me 45 minutes to get my shower ready.
So,
And the shower only lasts like less than 30 seconds.
yeah.
I'm like, you gotta go. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like that's why they don't really shower up there.
Right.
I know that sounds nasty, but that's you living in the woods.
Yeah.
You want to eat? There's your food. Go hunt it. I'm like, what? Yeah. They cut me a break because I was so very young at the time. They were like,
Mhm.
"Look, Master Ray, I got you. Don't worry. You're not going to starve this time." What do you mean this time? You'll see.
That's the
So,
same apply Japan.
Yeah.
yeah. So all this stuff like we see in movies, some of it has some truth factors behind it. And you don't believe it. Like what was that movie called? Ninja Assassin. The hand singles. That is a very we call that in my style unforbidden jujitsus. The reason we call them unforbidden, they're very dangerous to teach people. Spare bombs, power techniques. That is a actual fact. You don't see them, but it is a way to design them. They say. I seen the scrolls. I couldn't read Japanese, so the scrolls explains it. Master Ray knows how to do them. Like I try to push the buttons to see what I could do. He never cracked. That guy was very professional, always, at all times. But a lot of things we see, there is an animes, they're in movies, like even lifting yourself up a little bit. Yeah, like I'll use Tai Chi for example. They know how to post a movement to go from one place, from here to my couch, just flexing the muscles. That's why they don't move. It's an old person technique this day. Yeah, it might be an old person technique, but go talk to his masters for a minute. Then come talk to me. They can whip all three of their asses at once.
I will say this. Let me add to that. If you live in New York City, you go downtown Manhattan to Chinatown under the Manhattan Bridge. Every day, Monday to Sunday at 4 to 5 a.m., you see about maybe 4 to 7 group of people practicing Tai Chi. Now, you may think it's simple and easy. No, it's not. But the people who does it the most every day are the older generation. They're in their 40, 50, 60, 70. They're doing this every morning before they start work. And the way they do it is so fluent. Tai Chi is more like a spiritual medicine for the joint and the body. That's why you have all these Chinese people move like it's normal. And I see that for a couple of years when I was in my 20s, I had to I think black people are weak. And no way you're doing this early in the morning every single day at 4 or 5 o'clock consistently. And the posture, the technique, the pose, where they had to hold their body in certain angle. Ain't no way you're doing that. You collapse, you're falling, you're hurting yourself. But that is the thing. The thing about this spirituality, there's an oath you have to take. That's why I say, when I say it's hard, when you take an oath, you break that oath, something happened to you. It's hard to explain. That's why at the Christian, we understand spirituality. There's something in the spiritual realm, it's not something you can play around with.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't dismiss it. It's there. It's a lot of that stuff out there is real. You know what I mean? There's real spirit.
That's why we call it dark art. The word dark art is not a joke around it.
Right. Yeah.
No, it's a very serious thing. Real martial artists who have second, third degree black belt and up, they take that very serious, like myself and Black David.
Yeah. And
I know it sounds like we're talking about voodoo comic books up, but it's real for us.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that might be again, that would be definitely a much deeper topic and show, and certainly you guys could certainly shed some insight on that. And I'm already thinking, Grooming, that's definitely part 2. We're going to delve into more of the spiritual aspects and also just the general subject. Again, we got 5 minutes left, so we're setting up for final thoughts, but this concept of chi or ki, depending on how you define it. I've heard debates, is chi force, is it actually a real thing or not?
Yes.
This idea of this body energy. Again, we're at the end of the show, so we're not going to be able to delve in, but I would certainly like to
I'll give a simple definition
on that in a
when you're talking about chi or ki, you talk about something that is within the supernatural, but you be able to sense. Today's society cannot understand that because we are so far away from spirituality. Unless you go back, I don't know, maybe 200, 300, 400 years when spirituality was a big thing in multiple realms, whereby you can actually sense it, you can feel it. Today's society is numb to it. You're not gonna be aware, you're not even gonna sense it. But people who come from a cultural background where spirituality still there, still intact, there's a way you can almost sense it. You can almost it's like you know something is there, but you can't see it, but you feel it, and you know that like, you know what? Let me just move from this place. It's a feeling, but it's hard to explain. When you're referring to chi, it's like saying you're training your body is so sensitive to sense something that your regular naked eye cannot observe unless you have gone through the regime or regimen of doing that to a point you can almost see it. Spirituality as a Christian, I'm not gonna mention that I've saw certain things, but there are times that I did see things whereby it's hard to explain. But I'm not gonna talk about it here because
we can
it can mess up anybody's brain.
I'm sure it could. But I know chi. The only reason I'm missing chi or ki force, again, depending on the pronunciation, is that I have seen martial artists who, even Bruce Lee, he was a big proponent of channeling it. Like, so when you punch, like, why is it that you're able to send a person through? He was known for that 6-inch punch or that 1-inch punch that he was able to throw. Why was it when he was able to throw it, he was able to generate such power to send a person halfway across the room with just that one punch? And he always referred to, again, that being able to harness that force, that energy, if you will, into, it's not just in the physical realm. There's a spiritual aspect, but it's a power that you harness. And when you drive, when you punch, or when you kick or whatever, it gives you that extra, I'm not going to call it supernatural, but it is something that martial artists have referred to. But again, what I've also heard debates about, is it real? But again, let's see if we can save this. I mean,
I just want to correct one thing.
Yeah.
What is some people call it chi, some people call it a lot of things there. I know it's a chakra. Everybody knows it, a different definition, but they're all, at the end of the day, they're all the same. All end of the day, only time I'm going to leave it at that and dropping it, it comes from your inner core.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So, but again, this has been a good discussion. Again, at the time, this is the only show where
I know
time literally flew. We've been on for 2 hours. And again, this is
the second or third, actually.
What's that?
Yeah, I think it's the second or third show that I flew like this pretty fast.
Was it? I don't know. Not
Father Cusadino one that flew pretty fast.
But we were in a discussion for a while, but it just felt like a long but enjoyable discussion because it was so rich. It was so, just learning things. But just this subject of martial arts, it just looked. I looked at my phone. I was like, I can't believe like 2 hours went by that quickly. Because also there's still a lot of meat on the bone that we still need to chew here.
What did I tell you last night as I'm ending my show?
I got you.
It's gonna be a good one.
I got you. That this is, we definitely need to already add this a part 2 to the schedule where we talk more about.
We'll go back to this same question on part 2 because this question you asked is not a simple question. This one answer there are many layers to it. So I'll answer it on the next show.
Right, and shout out. Look, if we can, I may reach out to Mandrell.
We'll need him.
I have his direct
we will beg
contact.
His wife. Can we have him for the 2 hours?
Yeah, I may very well reach out.
I might text him too because I have his number too.
For a part 2 show and some others. So again, I know we have some former military guys. I know Trey, not Trey Ferg, but the other Trey. He's in military. So guys, so anybody, if you have some martial arts training and background, especially when it comes to these spiritual aspects of the art, for part 2, we would love to hear from you. Different things you may have seen within the martial arts world when it comes to such things. We'd love to, certainly get your input. So I'm just putting it out there to the panel and for those who will watch this show afterwards. That this section here is like a gray area that very few people I think have really touched on. I've heard discussions in some martial arts world, but in these, certainly in the BMU space and in the Black Manosphere space or whatever, I haven't heard really a lot of in-depth conversations on martial arts and you know some of the ramifications, especially once you start delving into some of the spiritual sides of it, some of the risks and some of the things you need to be mindful of should you decide to pursue that course of action. But I'll just say my closing thoughts, just succinctly, that again, I've always been a fan of, an admirer,
a lot of us was.
of martial arts. Again, growing up, I mean, that was such a part of my weekly grind. Bruce Lee, back then, I mean, just unbelievable, what he gave to the world. And even then, that was only a fraction, because most of that stuff he did on screen, he didn't necessarily teach that as martial art, all the high kicks and all that. He wasn't even a fan of kicks above the waist. So a lot of that stuff was for show, but a lot of the what that did for us, especially in the early mid 70s, seeing the rise and the boom of. In fact, I wanted to play Black David was Carl Douglas. Everybody was kung fu fighting. I mean, that was such a big thing back in the day. Like it was like it just
the Sham Shah production you see every Sunday afternoon on Channel 5.
Exactly. Well, we had two. So we had Kung Fu Theater Saturday afternoons at 3:00, and then at midnight you had another dose of Kung Fu Theater at midnight that used to come on also. And so we had that, but then the 80, and then all the guys, Jet Li, just all the guys,
Jet Li, Jackie Chan, and Donnie Yen,
yes, the Ip Man series. I mean,
Lucy Liu,
yes.
There's a lot of names.
There's a lot. I mean, the genre. I mean, that might be grooming for your Saturday show for the hangout. We need to probably talk about Kung Fu cinema and
definitely I'll put it on the list.
In those movies and whatnot.
I'm about to get my list together.
What our top 5 favorite karate kung fu movies, martial arts movies, or whatever, top 5. I have my list. No. I'm sure we can share that then. Go over our top 5. So that could be a fun show. You put that word. I think we'll get some. I think we'll get.
Doing this Saturday, right? What time? What time on Saturday?
9:30. I start
9:30.
9:30 Eastern time.
Eastern time, yes. Yeah. PM.
Everybody who is a big fan of kung fu movie, better show up on this guy channel.
Yes, that I think we're gonna get some.
We will have a serious debate about the best kung fu movie out there.
We can definitely have some fun.
So you guys want to do a kung fu time or a kung fu movie? Which one would you prefer?
Well, think it's best.
You said a kung fu movie. Or what was it?
Kung fu time or kung fu movie?
Kung fu time.
Yeah, time. Like the time you read the time, like kung fu time. Because you can talk about various things, but kung fu movies are gonna be based on movies mostly.
Yeah, we can do. Yeah, definitely movies. Definitely the like I said, the Asian cinema, any kind of that whole genre. Or American movies, like I said, we had those American ninja movies. Hey, the Wife School Podcast. Thank you for coming in last minute. Appreciate being here tonight. But
so
yes,
that episode for the kung fu movie will be on the 13th.
Okay,
so in 2 weeks.
Okay.
No problem.
I'll play my research because this.
So I'll reach out to Mandrell. If not on that show, then again on a future show where we talk about martial arts in general.
Yeah. Now, information man, shout out to you. If you do watch kung fu, you have your history. I hope you show up on this one too because we're gonna point out.
I always send him the link. I always send him the link every week. So whenever he has free time, he's always welcome to my channel. But the only other thing I want to add to this conversation, I am going to try to reach out to Professor David Daves down in New York, so maybe he can come on one episode. I think he will. I have a gut feeling he will. I don't know him personally.
I have a collectible kung fu movie that I've been trying to build over time because you know how hard it is to build a collectible, and you want to get the DVD and the Blu-ray DVD. You want to make sure you get the right copy.
Yeah.
Sometimes back then you had to go to Chinatown in Manhattan. Hope they still have it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put it this way, dude. Years ago, I was looking for an anime before it was released on DVD. It was there. I finally got it in Chinatown. It's called Technoman. 6 months later, they announced they're releasing it on DVD. I'm like, you motherfuckers.
Yeah, give it time. Give it time. Because
when I was a kid, I had no patience.
The fan base is strong. I mean, yeah, they're gonna have to do it eventually because again, there's money to be made. It's so it's so lucrative. And I used to go back in the day. Again, we didn't have. You went to the flea market, and the guy had all the black, the copied VHS cassettes or whatever, dubbing.
Remember that?
So sometimes the quality would be suspect. Sometimes if it, sometimes if he copied it off of like a laser disc or something like that, if the quality was good. But a lot of those movies was poorly dubbed, or it was a copy of a copy of a copy. So it was hit or miss when it came to the quality. We didn't care. We would get those martial arts movies because we just this is before DVDs, this is before all that stuff.
There were 2 or 3 locations in New York. There was one in Brooklyn and there were 2 in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
The one in Manhattan, they have the massive selection. I don't think it exists anymore. The one in Brooklyn it held on for a while. I think it got pushed out around 2012, 2015. They couldn't pay for the rent because they just have a long list, but not as big as the one in Manhattan. Chinatown, when you walk in there, you feel like you walk into a library. Oh, type of kung fu movie.
Yeah.
I heard about that. I never been into that.
I'm glad. I know you understand that everybody who know about that spot always go to that one spot in Chinatown.
Right.
You find them all. And there was some that I was already out in DVD before it came in the movie theater. You can almost see like, I understand that. So anytime I come to the movie theater in the US, if you have already seen it already, you just like, what have I already seen it already? And there's a lot going on right now. There's a lot. Kung fu movies, the documentary. I like to watch the documentary because the documentary will let you know a little more history, but some documentaries only keep to a limit because they can't go further beyond that based on information and history as well as spirituality, which is, like I said, it's a big deal. Unless you buy your plane ticket, you fly over there, and you ask the historian themselves, and the way they take you to a place and they educate you about it. They're not going to put it out there on TV because it's so detailed, it's so rich. They don't want people to come out here and just mess it up or fabricate it because it's not something you can play around. That's why I think when we talk about karate, there are 4 to 5 original Okinawa at the older. It's like it's been controlled by the shogun. Shogun monitor how karate was being put in their country in Japan. And there's a long history behind it.
That's true.
Everything have history. So when you don't know, when I think people talk about martial, you don't know the history, it better shut up.
Yeah.
It's not something simple.
Yeah.
It's something you have to really educate yourself in. Like, that's why I was glad I had an instructor who was educated. He had scrolls from his great-great-great-grandfather. He had an armor. Fun story. If I have 1 second to tell this story, actually. So you guys know, everybody who knows me personally, I'm a little twisted in the head. Don't make a comment because I am. So I looked. Put the hands down. Put your hands down, boy. So I was looking at my instructor. I go, "Is that a real martial art? It's not called martial art. Is it samurai armor? Yeah." I go, "What are you thinking?" I explained my idea. Let me put it on and tell Shin, your son, I'm his great-great-great-great-great-grandfather from his dead. He goes, "I hate you. I love the idea. Let's do it." His wife got into it. Let's get a smoke machine too. So I was sitting, he comes upstairs. I got can I use your sword too? By the way, which one? The decoration or the real one? I go, oh, I gotta go real. I'm gonna do this. So he comes upstairs. I'm sitting on my knees, smoke coming out. I go, Shin, I'm your great grandfather. You have disappointed the family. I pull this. It's time to pay the ultimate lesson. He runs. I sliced. Literally, we went through his couch. That's how sharp the goddamn thing is.
Oh my gosh.
He comes runs down and goes, He was like, his father, what's wrong with you, son? I'm like, son, you're feeling good? You're in a fever? He walks away. I'm coming down as the smoke is coming down now. He runs down outside. I'm in the middle of New York City now with a sword in my hands in a front yard. I started laughing my ass. I was like, dude, I can't help myself. He goes, you motherfucker. He started chasing. He's chasing me down Broadway Avenue in Astoria with a sword in my hand and an Asian guy chasing a Greek guy in a Japanese armor. I can't make this shit up if I wanted to.
Well, again, Wife School Podcast. Yes, I am dressed up like Bruce Lee. Yes, you've noticed. Again, obviously, this show dealt with the subject of martial arts. Absolutely. So, again, as a homage, paying homage to Master Bruce, yes, I donned the track suit from the Game of Death. So yes, and this is not for you younger guys. This is not Kill Bill. All right, understand your history, as Black David was saying. Yes, I definitely
maybe next time we come around to the episode, I might crack out the weapons too.
There you go. There you go. So
I don't have mine no more. I almost got arrested for that. I had to have 3 pair of nunchucks.
Oh gosh, I got some I
Kill
kind of
Bill?
play with.
Seriously, wife?
I can twirl a little bit, but I don't deal with the.
Actually, it's very hard to twirl the damn things. If you
Yeah.
use pure metal ones like I used to use, coming around and you
Well, it depends
swing
on the
wrong
weight. Now
way,
you get some of the heavy ones. The heavy ones.
I had the heavy
mean,
one. I had the
if
heavy
you-
wood one.
Yeah, if you're
You use that
wrong,
for a
you're
couple
gonna
of
jack
times?
yourself up. I got these are just like plastic, so
No,
I
I
can
have the
swirl 'em
real
real
metal
good or
ones.
whatever.
You go,
But
when
the
you hit-
heavy
you go,
bamboo ones,
ding.
yeah, the heavy bamboo, yeah, you will mess yourself up if you're not careful.
I love
swing
those.
around.
It's good for workout. It's good for discipline.
No, I was using metal ones. Like if you hit something, you go ding. I'm like, I remember getting hit in the head a couple times with that damn thing.
Yeah,
I still feel
yeah,
the concussions.
you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful. But listen,
I
guys,
got
we
kids
can.
now. I can't
yeah.
have it no more because of them. They're hard headed.
Guys, again, we can go
Get
for
safe.
hours with this. I love this conversation tonight. I love this this exploration, and thank you guys also for sharing your personal stories of your paths and journeys through martial arts and whatnot. So definitely there will be a part 2 to this show where we go even deeper, and hopefully we'll get some more martial arts practitioners on the panel to again to share their experiences with it. But any final thoughts for CBN, and then we'll go to grooming.
My final thought is, if anyone get into mixed martial art or martial entirely, I would request that you do your homework, you do your history, and look at what style you want to learn and understand the origin of it. Not all the watered down version, because you have to have respect for the art.
Mhm.
Like just like grooming review, I'm sick and tired of people make a mockery of it, because when you make a mockery of it, it's like a slap on our face that who went through the hustle to learn the authentic, original style from start. It's not that simple. So yeah, do your hunger, know the hatred, know the origin, and from there you have more respect for the art. Instead of just thinking like some wishy-washy thing when it's not.
Awesome. Wife School says she's gonna go break some boards. Just be careful, because again, as the line goes,
You mean
boards.
the
don't
chopping
hit
board for cooking?
Oh, snap! Oh, he went there.
And by the way,
That, ain't
wife,
right. That wasn't right.
the
That
boards
wasn't
don't
right,
hit back.
David. Why'd you do that?
Wives-
Groomin, take us out, man. Take us out.
Seriously, all joking aside, guys, do your homework. If you want to learn martial arts, you can learn martial arts at any age. I don't care if you're 6 or 96, you can learn it. The only thing I ask you guys, ask where instructors from, where he's learned, where the roots of the martial arts from. Don't go looking at anyone that says Kill Bill's 1,000 Bees, the mixed martial arts school, is because it's probably going to waste your money. If they're handing you out belts after belt after belt, like in 6 months, you're already a black belt, that's a red flag. A black belt takes a couple years to get. Take your time. Enjoy the process, because you're going to thank me later. And so trust me, don't volunteer to get thrown around every Yuki possible, because I was a dumbass who did that. It hurts after a while. Except that, as always, stay fresh.
Awesome. Well, I am Mr. Bennett. He is Grooming and Reviews, and he is Black David, aka CBN. First of all, thank you so much. Again, I got to give you flowers when you're here. You're always here for us. You always back us up. We appreciate you putting your time out and helping us on Sunday nights. But this has been the Gray Area. And so until next time, again, we'll see you then. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Hey,
That was
great
good.
Great show, guys. Bravo.
Whoa.